As I'm sitting down to edit this video, I just thought it's really important to also mention the topics I talk about in this video are very grave. Some people have lost their lives over some of the things that have been happening, the attacks that have been happening. Genuinely send love and prayers to the people who have been affected by this, because we've all been affected, whether you've lost a loved one or not. And to the people who have, I am deeply, deeply sorry. And that's why now more than ever, we've got to stay the course and stay in our convictions and in our faith, but not to dismiss happiness. Because I think there's a tendency there, of course, to say, I'm not going to even say Happy New Year, because these are terrible catastrophes that are happening and attacks on the United States, and there's so much fear. But that's the psychological warfare that you have to be careful of. The reason why I also say Trump knows about these things is because he has an emotional intelligence. This is the whole reason he ran. Remember what he rallied on, what he had talked about, and why so many millions of Americans, maybe yourself included, voted for him, is because he's very aware of the problems. You are very aware of the problems, and so am I. So by saying Happy New Year, or being in peace and in joy, actual real joy, not the fake Kamala joy, but looking at the hard, cold facts that we are under attack. Unfortunately, we are at war. And to still be loving and kind to each other, and to also rebuke what this horrible thing that is taking place, which is an attack on the United States. And that is fact, however you want to slice it. But we can turn it around. It's psychological warfare. Watch this video and weigh in. Let me know what you think. Here's what Trump had to say. Remember the truth. With the Biden open borders policy, I said many times during rallies and elsewhere that radical Islamic terrorism and other forms of violent crime will become so bad in America that it will become hard to even imagine or believe. That time has come, only worse than ever imagined. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of America, a complete and total disaster. What he and his group of election interfering thugs have done to our country will not soon be forgotten. MAGA. Welcome to the Hutchinson House Reacts. It is cray out there. It is like the wild, wild west. I'm not covering every single breaking news because it is moving fast, and that's not my stilo. I have other things. I have a day job. I'm an acting teacher. I work with one-on-one clients, helping people find authenticity on stage, on camera, and in life. And so I'm working with people on Zoom all the time. And I also am researching. I'm also in the world, studying human behavior, watching what's happening. And like you're probably very observant. You probably get your news from many sources, because right now is a very wild time to be alive. So I am going to cover what I want to cover when I want to cover it. And one of my biggest predictions for 2025 is to truly follow your heart. But it's kind of a funny notion, because you're always going to be following your heart, because your heart is right here and you can't get in front of. So you're not going to get in front of your heart. But nonetheless, you got to be with your heart right now, because it is the Wild West out there. Sincerely. I mean, the Trump Tower bomber, this sounds like a Dexter episode, right? Times 10. It's like the season finale. It's like there's 15 episodes packed into one. So some people on my last video were trolling me because they thought I was being way too positive, and you don't know what's going on in the world, and who are you to say? And by the way, if you just straight up name call and you don't offer anything of a counter, truthful, honest, authentic response, I am going to delete it, because what is the point? But I'm going to tell you about it nonetheless, because I think it's interesting how, if you're positive, the trolls, the gaslighters will be upset that you're positive. If you point out the things that are going on, they'll just gaslight you anyway. And that's why you never feed the trolls. But we have to talk about this stuff. And what I encourage you, and what I think 2025 is going to be all about, is truly following your heart. There were more Bible sales, I guess, in 2023 and 2024 than of all time. That is so interesting. Now, of course, Trump was selling a Bible, and some people will go, "Oh, it's because he's a great salesman." Even Trump, he can up the sales of Bibles. But there's also a bigger reason. I heard that is a nice Bible, but there's a bigger reason for that, because there is a battle of good and evil at play. And like I said in my last video, the people that are either coherently and deliberately going along with evil, or the people who've just been duped so much. And I don't mean to say that in a condescending way, but let's be honest, there is good and evil at play. And the people who are following evil sometimes are really good people, and they really don't know. Every con artist does some good. And so that's how they can perpetuate the con. Every con artist, good ones, can be charming or funny. And 2025 is going to be about the time to just cut out the BS of just trusting anybody and everyone all the time. So up top is the Trump Tower incident. I mean, this is obviously a sign. And then this guy, a manifesto leaked. And regardless whether that's true or not true, the truth is, even imagine this: somebody sat down and wrote a manifesto, whether it was actually the guy or somebody else. I mean, this is, like I said, a Dexter episode. So first, let's see what exactly he wrote. Creepy, right? Creepy. Leaked emails from the Cybertruck bomber. This sounds like a Dexter episode, except this is like 15 season finale Dexter episodes rolled into one, only it's not a show, it's real life. So these are leaked emails, supposedly. And even if it isn't a real email, somebody wrote this. So somebody that's still part of the plot. You see what I'm saying? So as an acting teacher who directs scenes like this is real life. So somebody still did this. So what is their motive? Why? Who? I mean, it's absolutely nuts. But this is how, and beware of this, because this is how the devil works overtime. The devil is working overtime. Now, some people might say that's not real, Leah. Well, there's an evil and a good at play. That's why there's been so many more Bible sales than ever of all time. Now, so I started reading the Bible this year. And while this is not a Bible class, this is just reality. A lot of people are turning to God now more than ever, because you can see all the world's a stage, and you see the good and evil at play. So regardless, we can all agree, I think, that wasn't a fun incident that happened in front of the Trump Tower. And it wasn't by any, stretch of the imagination, coincidence, or just, just happened to explode like some news outlets are trying to, persuade people into believing. But let's read this email supposedly from Liebesberger. In case I do not make it to my decision point or on to the Mexican border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 of January, and keep my identity private until then. First off, I'm not under distress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V8 for verification. Oh my gosh. I mean, who are these writers, right? What we've been seeing with the drones in the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China in the East Coast, but throughout history, the US. Only we in China have this capability. CEN location for the activity in the boxes below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years. But this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they're using it similar to how they use the balloon in the site. When we saw those balloons, and of course the government denied and then admitted it was China. Okay, so This is what it is. There are dozens of balloons in the air at any given time. It was because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned AC. They're the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. Dun, dun, dun. If only it wasn't real, right? Basically, have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over. I can't see what it says there. US, if they want it, it's checkmate. USG needs to give the history of this and how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. That's nice. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are likely going to let me cross to Mexico, but won't because now I'm armed and I have massive we don't know. Okay, so what do you think of this? Anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. But there's also a phrase, maybe you've heard it before, it's called don't worry about the mule going blind. Because this is how the devil works over time. Because then we what if? And what aboutism and all this stuff. Now, it's good to ask questions. But this is why Bible sales are up. Not just because Trump is a good salesman, I believe. It's because people are aware that this is a battle of good and evil. And we have to look at how much of our awareness and psyche is where we're giving consent to that energy. And so that's what 2025 is all about, is going, no, I do not consent to that. Yes, I can research this. Yes, I can look at 3 different outlets and see if I hear the same facts. Yes, I can look on the police radar, maybe take a defense course, maybe, do some things to protect myself. But not only that, to be really present and enjoy the moment so that we can create greatness, so that you don't succumb to that negative energy, but you're not negating it or pretending it doesn't exist, but you're also smarter than it in the sense of having an emotional intelligence and awareness, knowing that it is a psychological warfare and that no, you do not consent to them owning your mind. As a behavior analyst and expert at reading behavior, and I really am, if you work with me, you'll know that, and you'll become one too. It's beyond what people realize, though. Good con artists know how to do this, unfortunately, and that's how they do the con. So a lot of con artists that I've been around, they think it's a game, and they like to play with therapists or people that do what I do because they want to see if they can one-up you. But oftentimes, like with me, I will know what they're doing, and then they try to act like checkmate. And some of it is sort of like anybody can do anything. So with this situation, if it could be China, if it's gravity, if it's this alien, exploitation like this guy in the bomber is saying, it could be. But unless you're in special ops or in a way that you can help and defend, then what you can do is to really take care of your own health and wealth and mental well-being and enjoy your life and pray if you believe in God, because it is a fight of good and evil. So obviously I'm not going to show the footage of any of that because you've probably already seen it and we already know what happened. But if you don't know, for some reason, a Tesla Cybertruck was parked in the front of the Trump Tower in Las Vegas. And this guy who supposedly wrote this manifesto blew himself up in it. It was a bunch of explosives and fireworks. And, obviously that's a sign of some sort, right? Obviously. So a lot is going to come out. Like I said in my last video, it's all on the table now, and a lot is going to be exposed. From everything. We've got Bronx, New York shooting. We have the New Orleans horrible thing with the truck driving through the crowd. We've got shootings every single night in Denver that aren't even covered. Massive shootings too, where people are injured and even lives are taken. And this is not being covered. I see it on police reports. I see it. I hear it. I know it. You can look at reputable outlets when they're not doing bias. And I know that's really hard to find, but you can find it. But more than that, when you're looking on police reports, police scanners, your own Ring app next door and you're in the world, you're going to start noticing and you're going to have the emotional intelligence to know what's going on at all times. So then, of course, on top of it, all of these things are going to come out. The Trump sentencing, you know, as Trump is having wins and appointing people and people are getting voted in and his team is building, of course, the attacks are going to come in. So now many believe that it's already been 2 terrorist attacks. Now they're saying that they're trying to sentence Trump for January 10th. I mean, we know that this is what's happening. Look at real quick now at this continued witch hunt. We already know they're going to continue to gaslight. They're going to do everything. Yes, there's going to be, unfortunately, see, I don't want to put all this energy on it because the light can overcome the darkness, but you still have to acknowledge what's happening, right? So yes, they are going to gaslight. Yes, they're going to do everything to stop Trump. And here's a letter of another just tactic that they're using. We're just going to sentence him. You know, this is what we're going to do. Here's what the letter says. This is the sentencing order for Donald Trump. So this is the witch hunt that's going to continue. So the facts are he was ordered that defendant, that's Donald Trump, appear for sentencing following conviction on January 10th, 2025 at 9:30 in the morning at the courthouse located, blah, blah, 100 Center Street in New York City. So this is what they do, but this is really how the devil works, to preoccupy you, to distract you, to throw every curveball. And this is why I said in my last video that Donald Trump is prepared for this. He knows how these people operate. But do you know how dirty they are, about how much they try to infect your mind? So again, I encourage you to stay positive. And even though a lot of times I'm going to say be positive or stay positive, it's really true. And like pray up, do whatever you can to encirculate yourself in the good energy that yes, this is happening and we can rise above, because facts do matter. And the more people that stay in the facts and don't go into the gaslighting, see, that's how gaslighting works, is that it creates a brain fog and a cognitive dissonance in the person being attacked. And so then they forget what's going on. And then that's how bullies win. But I know that millions of Americans are not going to fall for it this time. We're not going to fall for it. And if it's the end of days, then it's the end of days. Like, you got to just appreciate. That's why all the more reason to be truly present. Okay, so yes, Trump was ordered to sentencing, but here's how he responds with his team. Benny Johnson put up the whole statement in response to this, of course, continued witch hunt, that they're gonna pull out all the stops. I mean, many of these people already tried to assassinate Trump twice, so we already know the drill. They're not going to stop at anything, unfortunately, and that's why this is the most important movement ever. That's why the MAGA movement is so important, because we're exposing the darkness. But that doesn't mean back down. That doesn't mean don't tell the truth. That doesn't mean quit your faith. It's the opposite, right? Have faith. Stand in your convictions, stay in the truth, stay in the power of knowing what is right from what is wrong. Here is the response from Trump's communications director. Here's a statement on the continued witch hunt sentencing by crop merchant. Okay, this is their next thing that they're going to try and do. Who's they? All the people who have Trump Derangement Syndrome, major TDS, to the point where they want to destroy all of us, right? Okay. Today's order by the deeply conflicted acting Justice Merchant in Manhattan DA witch hunt is a direct violation of the Supreme Court's immunity decision and other longstanding jurisprudence. This lawless case should have never been brought, and the Constitution demands that it be immediately dismissed. President Trump must be allowed to continue the presidential transition process and to execute the vital duties of the presidency unobstructed by the remains of this or any remnants of the witch hunts. There should be no sentencing, and President Trump will continue fighting against those hoaxes until they are all dead. So as Trump wins, as you win, as America wins, we can guarantee they're going to pull out pandemics. They're going to pull out attacks. They're going to pull out gaslighting. They're going to keep trying to put Trump in jail. This is all they've got. And they're not going to stop fighting. Okay. And that's what we have to remember. But Satan's never going to stop fighting. The devil's never going to stop fighting. And the more that you are having wins, the more the devil's after you. That's why a lot of celebrities, I believe, have actually turned to the devil, right? Because you're like, well, why would they choose them after success? Well, that's when they want you the most. Anytime that you're having wins, the devil comes at you. So maybe you put him back, put him back, put him back. And then the more and more and more success you got, the more you were trampled, and finally you just give in. But you don't have to. And then it works the opposite way too. Like the more down in your dumps you are too, the devil will have you sell out if you choose, but you don't have to give consent. And I mean, it's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt against Trump. But like he said many times, they're not after him, really. They're after you. They're after this freedom to create a great place for all people. And you're going to be gaslit at all levels. Some people are worried that there's this fog in the air in many, many cities, and it's a pollutant, and there's so many things that you can worry about. But all of that is attack on your mind. And yeah, sometimes you look up and you see many drones. You're like, drone light, first drone I see tonight, right? But don't wish on that drone. Don't wish for whatever, because that's where the higher power, and that's why so many people are turning to that now more than ever, because that energy is going to be the thing, not freaking out over maybe what could be or could not be true. We don't know, but yes, there are drones in the sky. Watch the last video I did about drones. I see them all the time. You can't deny it. But a lot of these things, like Cat Williams said last year, a lot of these things are going to be exposed now. And that's just the way it is. In my home state of Colorado, Governor Polis and Mayor Johnson, they want to pretend like crime is down. Crime is not down. All you have to do is have a Nextdoor app or a Ring app, and you can see. All you have to do is go onto the X feed of any local police department and see what's going on in your neighborhood. You don't need the news. You can go to where the news gets the news. Go to the source, see what's going on. That's what old school journalists used to do anyways, that they would actually have police scanners and listen to what's happening. They wouldn't wait for the news and then just report on each other and gossip about each other. Again, that's how insidious the devil works, to get us all distracted and hating one another. But no, we can stay the course, and there are some good players, but you got to be really aware. So whether that cyber bomber, his predictions or his manifesto was real, I don't know. But don't worry about the mule going blind. You can take things or facts or even speculations, and there's a certain level of the fact that they have to be dishonest. There's a certain level of dishonesty in any politician, and anybody who tells you otherwise is dishonest. There is going to be terrorism in 2025, especially because many people don't want Donald Trump and they don't want to make America great again. But what are you going to let infiltrate your mind? How are you going to be? Because these things are going to continue to happen, and it's disgusting. But the way that we stop it is saying, I do not consent to it. I do not consent. They cannot take over your mind. In other videos I've talked about, I've pulled my daughter from public schools, and here, have you seen this story? I know many people are like, this story is so old, it's growing mold, right? But here's the thing. None of this is new. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing. This all has been taking place. People have been fighting since day one of life, sincerely, because people ego gets involved, and then everyone's fighting. That's how all these different religions were born. That is how so many different languages were born. That's what the Bible says. So whether you believe it or not, these are some of the first recollections of what was happening on the planet. And if somebody could even think of it, then that's what's happening, if that makes sense. So whether that manifesto is real or not, somebody wrote it. Who wrote that? That's an energy that's real, that's at place right now. But look at what's happening with this Jeffco school thing. The whole thing is just absolutely disgusting. If you don't know, the head of the Jeffco schools, a public school system here in Colorado, was convicted. Well, it wasn't convicted, but he was actually arrested and going to be on trial for misconduct with minors. And here he is working in a school system, supposed to be the trusted adult. Well, turns out over the holidays in Maryland, he unalived himself, right? So if you don't know that, look it up. It's horrible. It's just horrible. I don't even want to give him airtime. It's so sad and despicable. But what has Jeffco County Schools done? Nothing. They haven't released a statement about any of it. That's why a lot of people are homeschooling now. That's why one of the many reasons I'm homeschooling now. It's about looking at the facts of what's going on. Is something working for you? And then unraveling where that source was. You know, I was just talking to somebody recently and they're like, is it politics why there's so much crime and fentanyl and homelessness? Yes. These are all policies. These are all bad policies. In Denver, in particular, it being a sanctuary city, and then Polis and Johnson pretending that crime has gone down. No, they're lying, they're gaslighting, and then it spreads out on a massive, massive scale. But my answer to all this is to stay positive, to stay in the vision and the faith of making America great again. If you didn't see that video that Trump just released on that a couple days ago, and I did a video on it, watch it. Remember the truth. They're going to come after him. They're going to come after you because this is what they want to do. But they cannot control your mind and your peace unless you give consent. If you want to see that video, watch this. And if you want to see the other video I did about drones, watch this one. Thank you for being here. Subscribe, do all the things so that we can join in positivity and move forward, because my prediction is the good people are going to start winning more and more and more. Light does prevail over darkness. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.
Subscribe to Mama.